history very snappy. So snowboarding got into the Olympics in '98, sort of caught us off guard, yeah, and it was a little rough at the beginning. First of all, we weren't even asking for it. It sort of happened involuntarily, but it was a great thing. It's great for riders that wanted to do it. And we got to the first Olympics in Nagano, and they misspelled the word snowboarding. And, but it happened, and it's just gotten better and better, and they're doing a better job of running venues and putting the whole thing on.
しかし、突然の発表に戸惑い、参加しなかった選手が続出。当時2年連続世界チャンピオンだったテリエ・ハーコンセンもその一人です。
They're just seeing that older generation is like really in for the medals for their country, you know, not really the individuals, you know. And then obviously like ISC is just a commercial thing that wants to make money in sports, you know. For me, it was a really easy decision. Like I think my last call was actually to Jake, you know, like Jake, and he just totally agreed with me, like, dude, whatever you do, I support you, you know.
当時活躍していた多くのトップ選手が参加しなかった理由は、スノーボード業界の意見を聞かなかったからだと言います。
But when the decision was made to put snowboarding in the Olympics, you know, nobody in the industry was really involved in the decision. It came down from a ski federation, which nobody really had any communication with. And I think, you know, a lot of people said that the Olympics needed snowboarding, you know, and I think that that's probably true. I think the Olympics have benefited snowboarding through exposure, you know, that Sean gets or any of those riders, any of those events. But I think that snowboarding's brought a lot to the Olympics too.
オリンピック人気に火をつけた選手がいます。ショーン・ホワイト。トリノ、バンクーバーでハーフパイプを2連覇。年収7億円、規格外のセレブスターが誕生したのです。ショーン・ホワイトはジェイクが作ったバートンのジュニアチームの一員でした。
He first came to the U.S. Open when I think he was 8 or 9 years old, and I can remember seeing him ride. I mean, he had a helmet on, and the helmet was sort of bigger than his upper body. It was so funny, and
it was only because they needed kid riders to test the product and to do these things. I wasn't the best. I was just all right, and they thought that they'd give me a chance and let me, you know, see what I could do.
And he had this incredible style that he developed from, you know, just developing his own riding and skateboarding and watching other riders, and the next thing you know, he was winning it. I mean, so many people turn on the TV to watch Sean ride. People that don't ever intend to snowboard, but they're fans, and he's done so much for sort of broad mainstream appeal to the sport, which we all benefit from. Every snowboarder really does benefit from that.
But to be honest, I feel thankful more than anything to be in this position. I mean, I was like some terrible red-haired child at school when in San Diego, a little kid, and I wanted to snowboard, and look where I am today because of I followed that that dream of wanting to do something different.
Very exciting to have you here, and I know that on the horizon, and it will be here before we know it, is the Winter Olympics in Sochi. Is that
Sochi?
Sochi,
Russia.
And
yes.
what do you do now? You'll be competing in 2 events this Olympics. What's the other one besides the pipe?
Well, you've seen me in the past 2 Olympics competing in half pipe.
Half pipe, yes.
Which I won. been great.
Yeah. Olympic gold.
So I'm going back. I'm trying to defend the title there, and then they have a new discipline called slopestyle, which is basically a series of jumps in one run.
Right. It's just incredible what these athletes, yourself and everybody. But then there's like a 12-year-old kid who. Now, where did the
I know who you're
kid come
talking
from?
about.
Who is the kid, and why is he in there?
He's 14. His name's Ayumu. He's an amazingly talented Japanese snowboarder. 13 when I went pro, and then 14. I mean, I was doing the same thing as him.
So
at
you
that point.
and this kid were, in fact, legitimate prodigies.
I see a lot of what I was doing, in his riding.
How old are you now?
I'm 26.
So the kid is like half your age.
Yeah. I know.
So you should take him out.
Naturally, yes. It's
オリンピック連覇中のショーン・ホワイトにライバルとして認められた平野歩夢。バートン契約選手の中で最も若い15歳にしてオリンピックのメダル候補の仲間入りを果たしたのです。
Perfectly lit up as the sun gets higher in the sky. Getting ready to drop next. Regular footer. Goofy footer. He's out here doing it for Burton, and he's just 14 years of age. He's an 8th grader. One of the most exciting pipe riders out here right now. Saw him get silver at X Games. Here he is dropping in. Ayumu Hirano. Yeah, Ayumu blasting in the sky right there. Backside method drop. And there's a huge frontside 1080.
But is he going to step up the technical?
That was definitely his biggest first one right
that
there.
one was exact.
He knows he's got to step up on the technicality. He's going to go back.
No, he's going to keep it the same. He's going to keep it the
He's
same.
going to keep the same run. Oh God! Oh my God! Ending it with such good style.
小さい頃そのビデオとか見てかっこいいなって思って結構憧れな存在だったんですけど、今はもうこう倒さなきゃいけないような相手なんでプレッシャーも結構あって、そうですね、抜きたいっていう感じですね今は。そうですね、まだ日本人でメダル取った人多分いないと思うんですよね、ハーフパイプだったら。それで今回つかオリンピックもし出たらなんつうんだろう、こうそのメダル取って何年後かしたらなんつう歴史みたいに残ったらいいですよね。
ショーンがトリノで初めて金メダルを取ったのは19歳。今回ソチで平野歩夢が優勝すれば史上最年少の金メダリストとなるのです。バーリントン郊外、点在するスキー場に囲まれたエリアにジェイクは家族と共に暮らしています。
How'd it go? Was it good? Yeah, what, like a duffel?
自宅はまるでスノーボードショップの店内。新たな発想が浮かべばすぐに滑って試す。日々テストを繰り返す毎日。
This is where Donna keeps a lot of her stuff. She's gotten into the testing thing too. And we have a lot of product here. We do a lot of demos and teaching people how to ride. We've got pretty much every size boot and do a little bit of work down here. And sometimes this is where the kids do a lot of tuning. I get my boards tuned at the factory, but they do a lot of tuning themselves, which is great. So this is the tunnel, which is slightly downhill, which goes over to the barn, and you can just skate over there.
「生活のすべてはスノーボード」。
Let's make sure you got it. Yeah, you did in the Highland, which was dope.
And that doing it on our fabric.
Yep. So yeah, definitely. So about visually how we.
商品開発にはジェイクはもちろん契約選手と技術スタッフが一堂に会し議論を重ねていきます。
I've gone through different binding sets. The cool part is it's not like I break the board and throw it away. I send it to Burton. Look at this. Look where I broke it. Look what happened. This is the footage, you know, so they can understand what I'm doing and what I'm capable of, and then they can readjust and make the boards better.
I think Jake cares about the sport of snowboarding more than most people know. He's in the roundtable meetings. He's in the product meetings with us. He's asking us the questions about the gear. And he's probably one of the most passionate people in those meetings.
All way. Six dimensions of stretch now.
女性用の商品開発会議にはドナが参加して意見をまとめていきます。そして会議で集約された意見は製品開発に直接反映させます。
With our team riders, they're the ones that are really pushing the sport, and it's up to us to create equipment and gear that will allow them to continue to progress and push the sport. The ideas can come from many different places, but they all run through the team at one point, actually many points along the development process. And some ideas will go to a certain point and then they just die. So you have to be willing to let that happen to get the ones that are really the best ones to come to production. It's funny, Jake's feedback can come to you from any way, but one really particular example from early in my time in Burton in 96 and 97 was I was in a meeting with Jake, and in the old days we bolted our straps onto the outside of the binding like this, and if you had a tail hanging off the end, you had to cut it. And we were in a meeting one day, and he just looked at that, and he pointed, he's like, I hate that. Can't we get rid of that? So this was the very first model of that, and that allowed us to have a strap that adjusts internally on the strap now instead of hanging off the tail of the binding, which cleaned up the entire binding zone. And Jake snowboards as much or more than anybody else that works here, and so he knows what he likes, and he will give you feedback. You never know when he's just going to show up at your desk and say, hey, I noticed this today when I'm riding.
Well, when we developed that logo, it was called the process logo, and it was developed based on our process for developing product, which does trace all the way back to Craig Kelly.
ジェイクと共にスノーボードを進化させたのがクレイグでした。
Craig Kelly taught me how to listen to riders and how to get their feedback and incorporate it into the product. And that's kind of what the process logo is all about, is it's starting with that feedback, developing the product. So it's just the whole idea of never stopping progression and development. And that's what that, and listening to feedback. And that's what that logo is about.
ジェイクとクレイグの2人が開発したスノーボードは今でも優れた製品として語り継がれています。